In general, in the young 30s is where most people are starting fresh. There was quite a drop-off in birth rates in the 70s that led to less demand in mid to late 2000s. So what happened was you had this perfect storm of
You're checking out the Investor Shed podcast with Nick Beveridge and Jeremy Kitchen. They're on the path to financial freedom, and they're taking their community with them. Stay tuned for the best free real estate investing advice on the internet.
Welcome to the Investor Shed podcast. I'm Nick Beveridge here with
Jeremy Kitchen.
And we get a little chilly in this episode, don't we?
We do get chilly. It's not even that cold in here, honestly.
We put the heater on for a minute.
Yeah, but somebody forgot to turn on the heat in the shed in the backyard, and it's like 35 degrees out in North Idaho, so
Yeah, when we record these episodes, we don't like to have the heater on because then it's too loud. The mics pick them up.
Listen, we try to give you the best freaking audio quality that we know how to give you. Yes, there's a...
So anyway, yeah, if you want to see us get slowly cold over the next 45 minutes.
If that sounds like something that would turn you on, watch the episode for sure, because we get chilly.
We get chilly.
But it's also a really good episode, Nick. We kind of deep dive into some of the new construction dilemmas and joys that you've experienced the last couple years.
Yeah, it's mostly just centered around new construction and what the ins and outs and just the challenges I faced over the last couple of years, just trying to wrap up new construction projects.
Great episode, vulnerable sharing from Nick. Super good stuff. Speaking of super good stuff, though, what kind of food should people be eating on this episode?
You know what? I've said bananas before, and I'm going to say it again. Bananas again. You should just eat bananas today.
That's some breakfast of champions right there.
Uh-huh.
I think yesterday I did have a banana, and that was one of the meals I had.
You know what? You take the banana, and have you had Catalina Crunch cereal? It's like a high protein
No, I
cereal.
don't do that.
I like to take a vanilla protein shake from Costco and put it into the Catalina Crunch cereal so I have extra protein, and then throw some bananas in there.
Man, I'm all about my extra protein, too.
Yep.
I do that with my parfaits. So I do protein granola.
Uh-huh.
I add protein powder.
I've seen you do this.
And then I add peanut butter powder.
Ooh.
Which has protein in it. It says it on the back.
All right, everyone. Get your protein
Get your
and
bananas.
get your fix of the Investor Shed podcast. You're going to enjoy this episode.
We love ya.
We guarantee it.
We don't guarantee shit.
So, I'm here with my co-host, Jeremy Kitchen. Good morning.
With the rambling maniac, Nick Beveridge. How we doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Better than you. You're
Well, allegedly, but you know.
Well, tell us all about the sleep you're getting lately with your new baby.
So much sleep. I can't tell you how much sleep I'm getting. Having a wife and having me, who are both self-employed, running businesses from home, stuff just gets done, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're thriving. No, we're doing really well, but still trying to navigate sleep. And but that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about deals, Nick.
Deals. So we had an episode that came out a couple episodes ago, and it was all about 2023 properties that I sold. There was like 19 properties that I sold personally of my own deals in 2023, and we were going to go through all of them and just kind of do the highlights of what happened and stuff. You know, case studies. People love case studies.
Oh, yeah, I love
You always
case
learn
studies.
stuff. And then we got through 7. So... I'll probably speed it up a little bit this time so we can kind of get through some of those other properties that I sold because I learned a fuck ton of lessons.
Yeah, absolutely. Lessons that are going to continue going forward and pushing you forward in your investing career for sure.
So, I mean, this episode isn't just to brag or anything. I just hope people actually kind of learn from my mistakes because this episode doesn't have a whole lot of wins. This one is primarily, there's a lot of new construction here that I'm going to go over that just raked me over the coals.
Yep.
And I'm going to share with you some of the challenges that I faced, what I could have done to avoid those challenges, and just be real as I can with the numbers too.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't learn if you're not honest with it, and I think you can provide a unique perspective here on being honest with what you've done that's worked and what you have done that hasn't worked. So
Yeah. So for those that have never heard me or this podcast before, I'm Nick Beveridge. I'm a real estate investor. I'm also a broker at Keller Williams Realty. I've been investing in real estate for about a little over 10 years now. I've been an agent for about 14 years, and I've built a lot. I had a lot of success in starting flipping homes in like I think it was late 2013, early 14. And started doing fix and flips with my brother. And we stuck to this formula that we learned in a seminar called the 70% rule. And because I was an agent, I was able to accurately predict after repair values. And my brother became a contractor over time, but neither of us knew much about construction at all. We didn't really grow up in it or anything like that. We just kind of had to learn as we goad. And our tactic was to hire handymen and pay them by the hour and just kind of be their assistant and just kind of learn from scratch how to do stuff. At first, we didn't have any money to hire anybody, so we had YouTube.
Yep, YouTube University. That's where it's at.
We had YouTube on our very first fix and flip. That was like where I learned 90% of how to do construction stuff, just one step at a time. Just, okay, how do you smear drywall mud on a wall? Pull up a YouTube video. There's somebody there to teach you for free.
Yep.
So that's kind of how I got my start. Over time, did a lot of fix and flips, several over the next decade. But it wasn't until about 2020 when I realized that, man, I've got to get into the new construction game. New construction is something that has always piqued my interest. I just am fascinated about how well, no matter, you're going to hear all kinds of falsehoods out there that new homes are built like shit these days. I don't think it's true. I think they are built so much better than older homes because I've dug into older homes.
Right.
A lot more than you probably. Those that are listening, I've got my fair share of opening up walls of homes built in 1885, of homes built in the early 1900s, of homes built in like 1912, 1920s, 1930s. I've done 1940s homes; those are doozy. I've dug into 1950s and 1960s homes; those are actually built pretty well.
Yeah.
But with time, they start sucking, and they weren't built with the same type of materials that they are these days.
Right.
And then you get into the 70s and 80s, and then you're kind of in like kind of cheaper build styles at that point. 90s, same thing. And then things start to get a lot better in the 2000s. And like people just didn't want to up their game, but the universal building codes nationwide just kind of forced people to build better products and become more efficient. And anyway, I've always been kind of fascinated by it. Of course, there are some things that could be better. But these homes are engineered by professionals, and they're made to last.
Sure. And I will say just a quick note on that. Like, yes, I think you're right that, homes are built better nowadays, but I do think the materials are inherently cheaper.
Yeah.
Just like your average 2x4 is made with all this filler nowadays or whatever, and there's a fine line between, quality and price, basically.
Right. But if they're put together the way they should be, the way they're engineered, that things should last.
Sure. I absolutely agree with that. So.
The problem you run into with some newer homes that fail is that they aren't put together the way they should be.
Right.
People aren't following building codes, or they're using, maybe defective materials. That doesn't happen that much, but it happens. Sometimes you run into a bunch of bad windows, but trust me, they're better than the old windows.
Sure. Right.
So I think in general, technology's improving products in general these days. There are so many exceptions.
Yeah.
We're not going to dive into those today, but I just wanted to give you a background of why new construction piqued my interest. Also, I knew, as the market, our local real estate market in North Idaho, the inventory was just getting squeezed every year. From, when I started in Florida, there was a ton of inventory back in 2011 when I was an agent. A lot of bank-owned inventory. There were houses available galore, and that's what kept prices down because there was a surplus of inventory.
Right, supply and demand.
Yeah. Over the next, decade, you had less and less inventory because all that inventory that was built by all those builders back in 2005, 2006, 2007, 2000, and then around 2008 things started to get really messy. But you had all these builders building a surplus of homes, more than what was needed, and you had all these lenders out there giving out loans because they could,
Right,
to anybody with a pulse, even people's dogs. That happened.
Free pancakes. Get a free loan with your order of pancakes.
And we also, which a lot of people don't realize or understand, we also had a weird time in our economic history where there was not as many people in their young 30s at that time frame. And that had to do with the abortion laws changing in the, I forgot what year, in the 70s somewhere. Yeah. But typically, household formation is around age 33. And that's where most people are buying their first home. That's when most people are becoming families. And in general, in the young 30s is where most people are starting fresh. But there was quite a drop-off in birth rates in the 70s. That led to less demand in the mid to late 2000s. So what happened was you had this perfect storm of all kinds of overbuilding, not as many people to purchase, and like loans that were just given out to anybody. You didn't really have to qualify at all. Stated income loans.
Yep.
So what happened was, we had a bust in the market. We had, for the first time ever, a real estate bubble brought the economy into a recession, which usually it's the economy that goes into a recession, not the real estate economy.
Yeah.
And a lot of builders went out of business. And typically in the past, to stay on pace with average population, you would need to build approximately 1 million homes in the U.S. every year to feed the necessary inventory demands. But that just dropped off a cliff when all these builders went out of business.
Right.
So what happened was, for the next few years, not many homes were being built at all. I mean, go look at how many homes were built in 2008, 2009, 2010. Not many. So we were behind by millions of homes that should have been built that were never built. And it took a long time for builders to start trying to catch up. Another problem that happened was all these local building codes and universal building codes became so strict, which, again, that's why homes are built better these days. In order to get approved for a certificate of occupancy, these homes that are built these days have to go through a rigorous amount of building codes. In general, like, things have to be done so much better these days, and that costs money.
Yeah.
Also, they just to get a permit and water and sewer hookups and all that stuff, most people are spending $15,000 right there just to hook up. So it started becoming harder and harder for builders to build in the affordable price points. So that's why all the builders started just building, once they finally started building again, to make a profit, because they have to make a profit. It's not a non-profit country here.
Yeah.
They started building in like the mid to kind of higher end, not luxury, but they started building, $500,000-$600,000 homes, not in the affordable price point by any means, but there was just more profit margin to be made there, and there was a demand because interest rates were low, super low, artificially low, and it became more affordable to buy these more expensive homes. And the newer families that trying to afford something brand new had all these things against them. They had artificially low interest rates, keeping things so low that it became harder for builders to build something and make a profit for something that was more entry level. And it also just kept the real estate market, it started heating up the real estate market, and they should have pumped the brakes on interest rates or started raising interest rates like 8 years ago because they fixed the problem back in like 2012. Hey, quick commercial break here. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I really do appreciate it. If you want to give back, let me help you buy a house, or I can help you sell a house. It's the only way I make money when I'm not investing in real estate. I don't make money on this podcast or the events I do, but I do make money only when I help people buy and sell houses. So if you're looking for your next investment and you're here in North Idaho, I want to help you personally. If you are not in North Idaho, I can still help you out. I have a vast network of referral partners all across the country in Keller Williams Realty, and I can find the right real estate investor savvy agent for you so you don't have to. It doesn't cost you a thing. Thank you for your support. Back to the show.
Yeah.
The problem was, you know, they didn't want everything to collapse and zombies to come out. And they actually got us back on track with those artificially low interest rates. Mm-hmm. They got people buying again and stuff.
Yeah.
But they kept them low way too long.
Sure. And it's a delicate balance with that too, Nick. Like, I mean, I know you've seen the roller coaster kind of things, how one trend follows the other, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, when one trend's going down, say that the housing need is going down or the housing market's going down, the interest rates are following that, right? And they're just kind of riding the wave, but one's kind of right after another.
Yeah.
So, they may have waited too long, but I think they did the best they could with, you know, they can only act on the information that's in front of them, basically. And once they fix the problem, they're like, oh, okay, now we can fix it.
Right. But what happened was you had a decade of people getting into new mortgages that were somewhat affordable.
Sure.
Because of the artificially low interest rates. Like the majority right now in 2024 of the mortgages that are out there are under 4%.
Awesome.
Over 60% of them are.
Yeah.
So there's another squeeze here in inventory because all those people that are locked in for 30 years of low interest rates, for the first time in a very long time, they can't just trade properties. If they want to move up, they because the payment would go so much higher beyond the value of the home.
Oh yeah.
That it just doesn't make sense for most people to move unless maybe they keep their house that they have a low fixed interest rate, which is now basically an asset if you figure in inflation.
Yep.
So a lot of these people, these potential sellers, it's just not a good strategy for them to sell their property that they have a low payment on in comparison to what rents could be.
Right.
So in order to supplement getting a new mortgage on a new house with a much higher payment, maybe they can get a little bit of cash flow if they keep their house and rent it out. Mm-hmm. Again, putting a squeeze on the inventory. Yeah. So that's been happening. That's why we're in a bad falling market, but our absorption rate is like 2.5 months.
Sure.
So we just barely have any, and to put this in more perspective, in our North Idaho region, we have over 2,000 real estate agents, and we have about 159 homes available.
Yeah.
Now, you can double that if you look at the ghost listings of like coming soon construction projects that are, you know, so that's if you exclude new construction because a lot of those aren't real listings.
Right.
They're just, you know, they're lots that you could build here for this price point.
Yeah.
So, but what I mean is the available homes that you can buy is so low in comparison to the employees that are out there to help you. Like picture, and to put this in more perspective, if you still have no clue what I'm talking about, picture going to a grocery store and let's say there's 6 big shelves in one aisle, and only 1.5 shelf is full of food. Everything else is empty. Mm-hmm. And then at this grocery store, you have 20 employees in that aisle asking you if you need help.
Can we help you with anything?
Can we help you? How can I help you?
I know it's available. Thank you.
And they're throwing TikTok videos in your face of them dancing, showing that I'm the best one to help you pick out this food. You know,
bold strategy. But,
we live in an interesting time.
It is for sure. Just taking my wife and I really low, 2.25. It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
But anyway, like if we were to get another house, just another regular house, you know, with the prices that have gone up since we purchased and with the interest rate, like our mortgage payment would basically double for the same house.
Yes.
Right? And
yeah.
Just sharing some numbers here, like we have like a $1,700 a month interest or mortgage, which is pretty good. a same house in the same neighborhood, just with a little bit higher price, with 4 points of interest added to it, is going to be like $3,900 a month. So it's definitely a squeeze. A lot of people like can't get into that spot. So I definitely understand the need to get into new construction for sure.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to pull up a calculator here to give you an example. I know that my house in Coeur d'Alene Place, it's a newer construction. We bought it in we put a deposit down in 2016. We moved in 2017. We paid $245 for the house. And at the time, it felt like we were doing something stupid because a lot of the homes, at the time, everything's about perspective. A lot of the homes had appreciated, and we could have bought that same home if we would have just bought 6 months prior to that for like 20 grand less.
Yeah.
So we felt like we were getting above our heads a little bit, but it's something that we knew it would be good long term.
Yes.
Our payment was $1,600. We bought for $245, and if we were to go get the exact same home from the same builder in the same neighborhood today, because of prices and interest rates, I'm going to give you an idea. So the same home would go for about 600 grand.
Yep. That sounds pretty accurate.
With an interest rate today, the interest rates, people keep saying they're going down. They're not. They've gone down a few points, but like not enough to. They're at their like average if you look at the last like 30 years.
Yeah.
And let's say we put nothing down, and we just traded homes. Our monthly payment right now is $1,600, and that includes taxes and insurance. Our taxes every year are about $2,400.
Interest, taxes, insurance.
Yeah. And our insurance is about $500. So if you figure close to $3,000 a year for that, if we were to go into a similar house that's not in this payment, the principal. So we get a new house for $600,000 at today's interest rates. Our payment before taxes and insurance is $9 shy of $4,000 a month.
$3,991 if you put down zero without interest, taxes, and insurance.
Yeah, that's if we wanted to get a new house.
Yeah.
Now, hold on, because you got to add taxes and insurance.
Right. I was
and
say,
mortgage insurance.
Numbers here, like, so did you guys do an FHA loan on this house?
Yeah, so you got to also add the principal mortgage insurance, because this is assuming there's no principal in there. Now that's gone down. So yeah, let's just do that real quick.
You're not putting 20% down on a house, right?
If you're getting a loan for $600,000 times 0.0055, you're going to pay in mortgage insurance about $3,300 a year, plus your taxes and insurance, another $500 a year for the taxes, and another $2,400 for the insurance. There's another $6,200 a year that you got to account for on top of this principal and interest. So divide that by 12. That you're going to add another $516 to your payment. Add $39.91, just over $4,500 a month.
Yes.
And this is why we have no inventory.
I got to say, Nick, you have a beautiful home. It's not worth $4,500 a month to me.
Right. But that's what people are doing when they're buying the same house.
Yeah.
This house is not insanely nice.
It's in a good neighborhood. It's just a nice house. Like it's
a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, built with kind of standard stuff.
Yeah.
Linoleum floors. I like it a lot. We have and we live in a nice neighborhood. We put some money into the backyard. We changed out the countertops from laminate to linoleum. What I can't even think. Formica.
Formica. I wanted to say formaldehyde, but I'm like, that's not right. Formica.
They make laminate countertops too, but yeah, we changed them out for quartz countertops. So we've done some upgrades here, and then we built a shed in the backyard that we do a podcast from.
Right here.
So we've invested some extra money into this house, but not much.
Sure.
And when we bought this house, we got an FHA loan, and we put 3.5% down. It's about $11,000 or so at the time.
Yeah.
And then I got the builder to pay my other closing costs.
Yeah. And you were an agent at the time, correct?
Yes.
Did you have your commission go towards the down payment as well?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I didn't mention that. I mean, I basically got in the house for free.
Right.
Because 0.5% at the time. So I'll tell you how much being an agent and having the builder buy my closing costs, it was about it ended up being 262 after the upgrades that we did.
Sure.
Multiply that by 0.005, that 0.5%. To get in this house, being an agent, it cost us $1,300.
Not bad.
Less than what it would cost for a down payment on a rental.
Yes. That's not even the first and last month's rent.
Yeah. And we love this house.
Yeah, it's great.
So to put that in perspective too, we also took advantage of when the market went up like crazy. Mm-hmm. We refinanced the house and got a lower interest rate, and our payment stayed the same. Still $1,600.
Yeah.
And we got to pull 40 grand out and buy another investment property with that. Mm-hmm. So now we owe about 300 grand.
That's still pretty good.
But it's the payment is so affordable compared to the alternatives. Now, if we were to go try to rent something for $600 a month in this market, we would be in a 2-bedroom shack with bad windows and high energy bills.
So $600 a month. Can you clarify that? You said you want to rent something for $600 a month?
1,600. Sorry.
16, yeah,
if we went to go
600
rent,
doesn't exist around here.
yeah, but if we were to spend the same amount of money, that's what would happen.
Yeah.
Now we're going to sound the warning bells here because we might experience this again over the next 30 years.
Yeah.
Because we have an inventory issue, and it's going to get worse. Unfortunately.
These things come in cycles, like you said, Nick. Like there's market correction and there's market destruction, basically, and it's just going to be a continuing wave. You can try to time it as good as you can, but it's kind of luck of the draw. It's out of our control.
Yes. Yeah. So that's why a lot of people aren't buying houses right now, or selling their homes.
Yeah. It's a hard area too right now. I can't speak to other markets in the country, but again, it's hard because if people sell their house, they don't have a plan to get into another house.
Right.
So, which you can keep your house, and I agree with you, you should do that. But if you can't do it, it presents a problem.
Yeah. So we'll go back to what I was initially talking about as far as like why I got into new construction as an investment. I felt like the market is going to need inventory. What if I were to build it from scratch and not just always scraping from the bottom of the barrel with fix and flips? Like, what if I can get into it? So I approached some builders that were coming to my REI meetings, asked if they wanted to sit down and have a chat. And we got into a building partnership with them and another agent on my team at the time, a 3-way partnership where my value would be I'm going to raise the money to buy lots.
God, I love 3-ways.
Yep. The other agent on my team, he was going to help find deals and help with the pre-construction, figuring things out, help with deal with HOAs, permitting, and our builders were going to build.
Yeah.
And we were going to split profits 3 ways. And it worked really, really well for the first year.
Yeah.
We built 3 homes and we had 2 others in progress. We built and sold 3 homes in our first year. We made $400,000. Now, did I get to learn a lot about new construction? A little bit. I had a builder partner, so they were dealing with a lot of that. But yes, I got to learn the basic process of the building process and what draws were like. Draws meaning with a loan, releasing at certain phases of construction. I got to learn all about prepping land and building and pouring footings and foundation walls. And there's so many different little steps and so many contractors involved. And it's a lot to manage. It's quite the job. You got to be really well organized and be very flexible because we live in an area where we're always dependent on the weather to do the right thing at the right time. We live in an area where there's a lot of snow. 6 months out of the year, you're in rain and snow.
Yeah.
So it was a fine dance of trying to build something from the ground up, and then also sell it to the market. Fortunately, for the first couple of years, the market really wanted our new construction product.
Yeah, they did for sure.
And at the time, construction cost were pretty stable, which is what I loved about new construction because contractors would give you a fixed bid for what something would cost, like a drywaller. They look at your plans, they send you a bid for $9,000, and then what happens? They come in to that house, they get the drywall done in 4 or 5 days, and then they send you that invoice for $9,000, and you pay it, and it's done.
Yep, all done.
When I was doing fix and flips, drywall could be whatever, because it depends. Like walls could be weird here. Maybe we're gonna, it could take some time. It's not. We don't have exact plans, and that's just one little example. But like with a fix and flip, you don't really know. Your budget has to be really flexible because you don't have a bunch of fixed bids. When you're opening up walls, you can discover new problems, and you might have to replace things that you otherwise wouldn't have. You might have to order custom windows because they only fit because this house was built 50 years ago. There's a lot of random things that with fix and flip, there's just your costs aren't like a science and pretty fixed. And what I learned was over time, I had the wrong perception. I thought that these bids were fixed.
No, they're not.
But they're not. They move with the market, and materials can change. And we experienced that. If you guys remember, 2021, lumber became a new meme of like, did you ever see that meme where this lady's like, take me somewhere expensive, and he takes her to like a Lowe's lumber department for dinner.
I love it. Like even just like OSB, that went up from like what, $6 a sheet to what, 80?
Yeah, it was about $8 a sheet to I think it was like close to $100.
Yeah, wild.
Just one piece of the thousands of materials that you need to build a home went up that much. So you can imagine when people say building costs doubled, sometimes I think people feel like you're just exaggerating. Or if people say building costs tripled, sometimes people think you're just exaggerating.
It's no lie.
That happened. It happened not with every part of the home, but with a lot of parts of the home. Some prices like tripled. Didn't mean that the overall building cost tripled. It may have doubled.
Yeah.
Or may have close to doubled, but it was out of control. And the problem that we were facing was we had a budget and a loan that we went so far over, we didn't have the slush fund to deal with all the overages, but we still had a timeline to meet. So
and timelines are backed up too.
And yeah, you had this problem of so many people moving here that all of a sudden all the contractors were they were too busy to even like get back to you on bids and stuff. And like, you got a project sitting here and you're still waiting for a gutter guy or, all these people that are just so unprepared to handle this kind of volume. And all of a sudden, these subs started having difficulties getting their materials too, because the world shut down.
It all trickled
and
down.
Ships stopped moving. And everybody was just like, how do I do this job? Like, am I really this bad at this? Or are there all these circumstances that are just making things almost impossible? What we found is that you could just never have enough in cash reserves.
Yeah, never enough. And this whole process, obviously, you started doing it because it was stable in your mind.
Yes, that's the point. I had a false belief that because I had done it a few times and I had success and that our budget stayed the same, that it would always be this way.
Right.
And I was wrong.
And then, with the big market correction and COVID and everything, like you said, it brought such instability to the market. And it left rippling impacts on everything that you were doing. So,
and there are several other factors that made this really difficult too, because at first, prices in general for real estate started going crazy too.
Yeah.
And so we were like, okay. So our building costs doubled, but our prices went up. So I think we're going to be fine. And in our minds, we're like, this is okay. We'll just get more. I'll pull out all my credit cards and we'll start charging my credit cards because we'll get this back with our increased prices. And that worked for a little bit until it didn't and the market corrected.
Correct.
But the construction costs never went down. And when you have a new construction project with a timeline of 6 to 8 months from start to finish, like this is when we're going to acquire the lot and get permits and build the home over 3 months, and then have another 3 months or so to sell the property.
Yeah.
When that's what you have budgeted for holding costs, because some of these homes that we were building, a lot of them, the payments were about $4,000 a month in interest. What I learned was that doesn't stop until you finish and sell the properties.
Yes.
And sometimes when you have, you know, $20 or $30,000 budgeted for holding cost, and then all of a sudden it goes to $100,000 per home because you had to hold it for an extra 2 years because you couldn't get your job done.
Don't look at me.
And you couldn't. No. I'm just saying.
Like,
This is what happened.
Yeah.
We didn't have enough to finish, so we had to borrow the resources. Materials weren't there. Things just took forever to coordinate. And then you just, once you finally have maybe available workers or something like that, then you don't have the budgets to pay them. So you kind of delay and wait till you sell a rental before you have the money to finish up projects. So what I was doing over the next couple of years, and on another podcast, I'm going to go in depth on getting ripped off. The builder partners that we were with, they ripped us off, unfortunately. And it really jaded me for a long time. And I went a year of just this hate, and I couldn't believe somebody to do that and be so selfish and take our slush fund and not pay subcontractors and then blame me. I'll go into depth another time when the dust is settled, but
now's not the time.
That was,
I don't think.
probably not. But I can't blame it all on them. I mean,
Right.
There was all these circumstances that happened, and bottom line, I bit off more than I can chew. Sure. I was not an experienced new construction person, and I shouldn't have had, 26 projects going on, with most of them new construction.
So it was a weird time for you, for sure.
Yeah. I just had this false mindset that this is the right thing to do because our market needs the inventory.
Right. You were coming in and you were trying to be the hero that Gotham needed, basically.
Yeah. But my wings didn't work.
Yeah. You didn't know how to use your utility belt correctly.
Yeah. So, over time, I got, I had to sit down with the hard money lenders that we had on a lot of these properties over lunch, explain the situation. The funny thing was, he wasn't super surprised. Obviously, surprised and pissed about the builders, because they saw it too. They were dealing with the draw process. They saw the work didn't get done. They were paying for subcontractors' work, and then knowing that money went into our shared account, and then it went to these builders, and then they didn't pay anything. That was a problem. Because I was in business with them, I could have got sued too, and it was a big problem. And I just didn't have the resources anymore. I got strapped. I didn't have the resources anymore to continue payroll. I had a lot of people on payroll.
Yeah.
So I had to slowly fire people because I didn't want. It was either that or they show up and work and then they don't. They don't get paid. I'd rather fire them before they do a bunch of free work,
Right.
or let them go. So had to deal with that slowly, and then I had to start doing these projects myself with myself and my wife on the weekends and early in the morning. And instead of my early 5 a.m. workouts, I was going in, I was installing fences and staging homes and doing landscaping work, doing whatever I could.
What's up, North Idaho people?
Hello.
Hey, we've got an amazing real estate seminar coming to Coeur d'Alene here later this year. We want to tell you about it so that you'll hurry up and buy tickets.
Yes, get your tickets. The amazing Kathy Fecky is flying in. AJ Osborne, the king of self-storage, is flying in.
Steve Rosenberg, y'all know him, he's muscly. Brad Chandler, changed your life. Tom Wheelwright, man of the hour. Get a free book too when you sign up. Quickly, do it before the end of the month and you'll get a free book.
To get these homes done because everybody was walking away. I had other partners too on a couple of duplexes and a couple of homes in downtown Coeur d'Alene where I was a small partner, and they didn't really want to deal with the problem, and they were ready to do bankruptcy, and I wasn't willing to, so I let them walk away.
Yeah.
They both moved out of state, and me being a 25% partner of 4 projects that ended up losing me another $650,000. I wasn't willing to just claim bankruptcy. So that was part of my stubbornness. But I told myself I've been bankrupt before, and I didn't think it was worth it. I think I have more potential to pay my debts.
Right.
Anyway, I'm talking way too much. What do you think about this so far? Do you have any questions about anything that you've seen me go through that you wish I would have handled differently?
It's hard to tell you, Nick, like, yes, I think you should have handled things differently. Like, I've never been in your shoes where I've been that over my head.
Yeah.
And when you're that over your head, like, it's drastic times call for drastic measures, I think. But you didn't want to claim bankruptcy, and I respect the shit out of that, honestly. Your integrity shows even when other people's don't. But I do want to kind of talk about the process of, like, be identifying yourself going forward as a real estate investor. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I joke about it, but honestly, I mean, what a waste of skills, if I don't take advantage of it someday when the timing's right and the numbers make sense. I mean, I got to learn how to build homes. Not many people get to learn in depth, making that many mistakes. I feel like I learned so much more about flipping homes with all the losses and the mistakes than I did that first year and a half where we won all that money with new construction.
Sure.
I felt like I really got my systems down and know the process and have better contacts and better subs I can deal with. And
but even that,
I think it's just another tool in the toolbox of real estate investing is development.
Yeah, I get it. So you are going to be continuing doing, development, like you said?
Yeah, when the timing's right, when it makes sense, and if I can make a profit from new construction, and I'm willing to allow myself to get into that time frame of, like, this is going to take a year based off my experience. I can't assume it's going to take 6 months,
right?
Not based off what I've gone through.
Yeah.
But I can try to do better.
Yeah, that's great. So just going forward, like, what is your plan? Like, if you consider yourself at ground zero right now, right?
Yeah.
What are you doing going forward? Like, how are you getting back on your feet, and what actions are you taking to get there?
This may surprise a lot of people, but I've been wholesaling.
Oh, okay.
I feel like the market right now in North Idaho, we just ran some numbers. If I were to buy a house like mine, how much it would cost. You know how much my house would rent for? Maybe $2,800 a month. But if the mortgage is $4,500 a month,
right?
In general,
big
with today's interest rates and today's prices, it's not a great strategy if I need to leverage up to buy rentals in this area, because you need to have cash flow.
Oh yeah.
So that hasn't been my main focus lately, because that strategy worked really well when it worked, when prices were lower and interest rates were lower, and when I had the extra cash to funnel into down payments. So that's been tough lately. Right now, if you were to build new, it's hard to compete with the big builders. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Need some water.
Yeah.
Scratchy throat.
So you said that you are wholesaling right now. Like I haven't seen anything come through my inbox for any of your deals.
We just started.
Okay.
just a week and a half ago, we've been on multiple appointments a day.
Okay, nice.
And Joe's sending out tons of letters. And I mean, we'll be creative. We're buying at discounts, and our plan is to flip, whether that's wholesaling or fix and flipping or wholetailing.
Yeah,
I think it's mostly going to be wholetailing and wholesaling.
Okay.
Excuse me,
You're good.
Got a frog in my throat.
Yeah, we'll just keep talking then. So, I mean, if your plan is to do that going forward, like, and my question here specifically is, is this shiny object syndrome to you?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I mean, we're doing the same thing that we've always done, only the strategy right now is just to build up a cash reserve.
Right. And I think it's a really good strategy that you're doing, like, honestly.
Because if you want to make rentals work. Now, here's what would make that rental work really well. If you just buy a house with cash.
Yeah.
You need the cash reserves to do that, though.
That's right.
Because right now, because I still feel like real estate is a very solid investment.
100%.
And it becomes less and less risky the more cash you put into it. Now,
Correct.
Are you going to get more than if you were to put it in a T-bill or something like that? I don't know. I think so. It depends. It depends on what you buy a property for and how much cash it takes. And would your cash investment be better in the stock market or a treasury bill or a high yield account?
Index
would
funds,
you end up?
is,
I
yeah.
mean, I would maybe compare that before you pull the trigger. But with real estate, it's not just the rental income that you're getting. You're still getting the depreciation, the long term. All the things that come with real estate.
Sure.
So
You just got to find the strategy that makes sense for you. Because, I mean, like you said, like there's high yield and there's stocks and stuff. Like, that's compound interest if you're getting dividends off that stuff. And Albert Einstein actually said compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world.
did he say that?
He did.
He says a lot. He
said
just
a lot
won't,
of things.
he just won't shut up.
He's full of shit.
Fucking Albert.
No, but going back to your wholesaling, Nick, like, I do think it's a really good strategy because it does allow you to do multiple things on a listing, right? So if you're going on one of these listings for a wholesale, it
Yep.
allows you to either A, wholesale a deal, buy it yourself at a steep discount, or if that doesn't work, C-list it.
Yes.
Like, it's another hat and another tool for you, like you said, to put in your tool belt. And I think it's a really good strategy, specifically since you are going to be going on listing appointments anyway.
Yeah.
You might as well see if you can buy it from them right now.
Yeah. And here's why I feel like this is a good time to do this strategy right now. Because there's a lot of people out there that are in hard times.
Yeah.
And if they own property, it's very likely that they have pretty good equity in that property. And we've run into a lot of people that we're both chill. We're both so cold right now. That
It's a little
I
chilly
forgot
this
to
morning.
put the heater on in the shed like an hour before we came, so we're both just shaking because
Yeah,
it's
we're-
like
we're good.
30 degrees in here.
We're both like arms crossed.
Yeah, if we put the heater on, it's like you barely hear us because it's so loud.
Yeah. We're good.
Oh, I forgot what I was talking about.
Wholesaling.
Oh yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of people out there right now that they're feeling the pinch, and the squeeze with this economy, and it seems like things are just getting worse for people that don't have good spending habits.
I agree.
And with those people, unfortunately, if they own property, sometimes they give it up at a deeper discount than they would. And we're dealing mostly with people that, like, these properties are not something you can easily throw on the market.
Right.
Like, they've trashed them and they just don't have the attention to give.
Yeah.
And they just don't want it.
Yeah. And that's why, like you said, selling it to another investor is a really good strategy to get that going. Do you have a, when you're doing your numbers, is there a specific amount that you want to make per deal that you wholesale? Or is it just kind of going with the flow and seeing what makes sense?
Well, yeah, I mean, we'd like to make 20 to 40 grand or something like that, in that range.
Each or in the deal?
In the deal, so
Sure.
we can split.
Sure.
If we make 20 grand, 10 each, 30, 15 each.
Sure. Obviously, there's
and-
other costs associated with it, with
Yeah.
mailers and doing everything like that.
Yeah.
But
We're trying to get things for a little bit less than the 70% rule if we're going to wholesale it.
okay.
We're also looking in markets that are not Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls. We're more in the more rural areas.
Okay.
Where these people aren't used to getting marketing. They're
Sure.
not used to getting mail.
Okay.
So we're targeting a different group of people that we feel, because of the response we're getting. Joe's great. Joe's writing 10 letters, handwritten letters a day.
Awesome.
People saying, are you interested? I'd like to buy your house with cash or make you a cash offer if you're interested. And she puts her business card in there. Like, she's also a realtor, investor. People see that.
Right. Not trying to hide anything.
And she's getting at least 1 to 2 calls for every 10 letters she sends.
That's good turnaround.
Yeah.
Typically, like, the funnel kind of goes down. If you make 100 calls, 10 of those people will call you back.
Yep.
Right? So you're on pace with that. And then out of those 10, maybe one would be interested. So, I mean, it's like a 1% conversion rate. You gotta send out a lot of shit. But I think it's really great. And I'll put this on air. Like, I think I'm looking for my next flip.
Okay.
I think that's something that I would like to make happen this year.
All right.
Like you, I need cash.
Yeah. We all can use a little more cash.
Use a little more cash. Our rental's on the market right now, by the way. So if you are in the Coeur d'Alene area, buy our house.
Buy our house, stupids.
Yeah. You heard it here first. Buy our house, stupids.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess I won't get into too much depth of those particular home builds, but that was the majority of them.
Yeah.
And I think we can probably wrap this up a little bit early today because I know you got to get going soon.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a few minutes. We're not in a hurry or anything, but I think the conversation has came to a decent stopping point for sure. So going forward, if you're looking to get deals specifically in the North Idaho area, talk to Nick.
Yeah.
He can find you a deal one way or another, whether he's wholesaling or he's an agent. He talks to a lot of people. He has his monthly real estate investor meetup. Solid guy to be in business with, and I appreciate your integrity through all your projects.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome. No, I mean,
such a nice guy.
You need a plug.
I appreciate you.
Bad things happen to good people, and you're a good person. And the way you've been able to just survive and thrive past what has happened.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of great people surrounding me, and I think that's everything. I think that's what really helps. I'm sure there were some bad apples, but for the most part, a lot of great people, and that's what keeps me going.
Cool. Well, let me know if you need help with anything on the wholesaling.
Oh, thank you. Okay. All right. We'll talk more.
Yeah.
Talk more off camera.
And then if you enjoyed this episode, as always, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Go on both.
Don't do that much.
We're asking a lot of you. Just pick one, please. We love you.
Share the show. If you know somebody that might like podcasts locally, maybe just share it. That's all.
That's our demographic. Somebody who might like podcasts locally. If you know somebody who might like podcasts, because all podcasts are the same, please share the show with them.
We can't think straight because we're just cold right now.
It's Chilly Willy for sure. But thanks again for listening, and thanks again for watching. If you are one of the 3 people that watch or one of the more people that listen, we appreciate that too. We will see you next time on the Investor Shed podcast.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much for checking out the Investor Shed podcast. If you enjoyed your time, make sure to leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Follow along on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at The Investor Shed for shorts and promos about each episode. Do you want to be a guest or know someone who has great real estate investing advice and stories? Reach out to us at theinvestorshed@gmail.com.